This week's article is titled Speak Up. I was standing in my favourite bagel store recently waiting for my order to be processed and struck up a conversation with a stranger also waiting for hers. She started bemoaning about how much the area was going downhill with all the drug issues. As the lover of my hometown, I asked her to tell me more. She went on to explain that during her walks every morning she regularly comes across drug paraphernalia on the beautiful paseos. "Can you believe it?" she asked. "We have to step around the needles and ensure our little pooch doesn't stand on them." My fellow Santa Claritian went on to say how she was also disgusted by the increasing amount of graffiti she notices on the bridges right here in Awesome Town. It was at this point where I politely interrupted her to ask her if she'd spoke up about what she saw. Had she ever called the police or graffiti hotline? I gave her an example where we suspected illegal drug use behind our house. We called the sheriff and within 15 minutes they were there and dealt with the issue. I gave another example of being at a local park and we'd noticed some graffiti on the curbstone. We called the city's hotline and in a flash the crew arrived and steam blasted that graffiti out of existence. Before she was about to respond, her order arrived and so she hurried out of the store, calling back over her shoulder to me, "We don't care about reporting what we see. We're moving to Nashville when my husband retires." And that's how it went down at my favourite bagel store. It got me thinking about how many neighbourhoods have gone to ruin because people simply don't speak up. The relevant authorities only have so much personnel resource, and so we as neighbours can be the additional hands and feet to speak up about what we see. Ideally, also rolling up our sleeves as a volunteer when we can. Relating this principle to the workplace, it set me thinking about how many organisations have ruinous cultures simply because no one speaks up about issues that should have been dealt with by the relevant authorities, namely the organisation's leadership. Consider the amount of organisations that have fallen from grace and as a result went out of existence because people didn't speak up about what they saw. Think Enron, WorldCom, Arthur Andersen, Global Crossing and Tyco International, to name just a few. Internal investigations often validated this fact. Many saw something, but few people said something. From our observation at Newleaf Training and Development, there's nothing that can spread quicker across an organisation than negativity, gossiping and backbiting if not addressed by leadership. This is the graffiti of the workplace, as they're really tags of much deeper issues. Likewise, if direct or indirect fraud is allowed to continue within an organisation, for example due to pressure to achieve results at all costs, morale will drop. Why? Well, as human beings, we innately know what is right and what is wrong. Few people are willing to speak up, and so heads go down instead. We recently consulted with an organisation which had a very disengaged workforce. It was so sad to see that only 24% of the employee population were willing to speak up during a survey process that we offered, even though we provided various platforms on how such feedback could be provided and assured employees of absolute confidentiality. How disheartening it must be for someone to spend so many of their waking hours working at a place where the culture is suboptimal, but they won't speak up to influence positive change, usually for fear of retribution or resignation that nothing will change. Mahatma Gandhi famously once said, "Be the change that you want to see in the world." So whether we're talking about our place of work or the place we call home, let's all commit to speak up and ideally roll up our sleeves to help improve matters where we can. It's people who create neighbourhoods, and likewise it's people who create workplace cultures. Good can conquer bad if enough people are willing to positively impact change. If it doesn't work out, I assume we could all move to Nashville, as it sounds like it's really awesome there.